I regret getting married to the wrong person. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self to wait and to not settle. I hate going through the divorce process. I'm not fully divorced yet. Papers are signed, but the judge won't sign off on them. I don't know why. I have court tomorrow and it's stressing me out. And I just wish I could go back and not get married.
Here's the one thing that I regret about divorce. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Christina. I'm a divorced woman turned divorce coach. I help women create their best life after divorce using mindset, manifestation, action so that they can heal and feel confident in getting their life back on track and going towards their goals. One thing that I regret about divorce, honestly, is not using it to my advantage sooner. Here's how. I've been blessed to connect with thousands of women through my podcast, Rebuilding You, and hearing some of their stories along with stories of my own to help figure out what the common thread is. One big thing that is common amongst all of us divorced women, we always felt that we had to go through a healing process before we could go through an up-level process after divorce. That is a big mistake. The key is really to heal at the same time that we are working on our mindset and really breaking those patterns and those triggers so that we can pair the two together and do it simultaneously. You do not need to wait to heal from divorce and wake up one day feeling like I'm just gonna, be ready to move on and be ready to be successful after divorce. Doesn't need to happen. You can start today. Follow for more.
Divorced women love to say they're healed, thriving, and finally choosing themselves. Funny how that confidence only shows up after the house, the ring, and the safety net are gone.
So recently I caught up with an old friend and she was telling me that she got divorced. And I was so surprised because her and her husband were such a cute couple and they had been together for 11 years. So I asked her, what happened? I figured something bad happened. She's like, honestly, I was just bored. My husband, all he did was work. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had 3 kids, and I just got lonely and bored. And she had other friends that had, boyfriends, or they had just got married, and they were always going out, always going on vacation, always partying, going to the club, going to the bar, hanging out with friends, and they did none of that. And when she would bring it up to her husband would always tell her, I gotta work, they had a big house, they had nice things, he was just trying to work. So they ended up getting divorced, and now, she's single, she lives alone, she's working, and she's dating. So then I told her, oh, well, that must be exciting, dating and stuff. And she's like, no, I can hate it. And I was like, why? And she's like, because all they want to do is just have fun. They just want to go to the club, they just want to go to the bar, they just want to hang out, have a good time, and then that's it. She said, no one wants to help me out. I'm trying to find someone that's going to help take care of my kids. She's like, I just want someone to be a provider, not just a good time. So I was all like, well, wasn't that what your husband was doing? And she's like, I know. And I guess now her ex-husband is dating someone, seriously. They have been divorced for a total of 3 years, and he has been dating this girl for 2 years. She has 2 kids, and they're already living together. She says that he's fully taking care of her. The girl doesn't work, she's a stay-at-home mom. They haven't had any new kids, but they're planning on having kids. And she's pissed because she's like, how can he move on so fast? I can't even find nobody, and he just found someone so quick, and he didn't even want to give us another try, blah, blah, blah. And I was so confused because I was like, okay, so you divorced him because he was always working and you were bored. So now you are single, going out, having a good time, dating, but you don't like that. Now you want someone to take care of you, a provider. And your ex-husband, all he wanted to do was be a provider. That's why now he is dating someone who he has no problem providing for her and her kids. And she's pissed because she's like, why would he go and find someone who has kids? He already has kids. Why would he want to take on that responsibility? And I'm like, wait, aren't you looking for someone to take on that?
This is a prime example of a woman making the mistake of leaving a man based on the 90-10 theory. If you guys don't know what the 90-10 theory is, it's where a man can have 90% of what a woman wants in a man, but she becomes so focused on the 10% that that man doesn't have that she breaks it off. She lets him go even though he has 90% of what she wants. And look, when a woman does this, she is fully convinced that she can find a man with 100% of what she wants. And then she goes out into the dating pool and she tries to find a man with that 10%. She thinks initially that this is all that she really wants and that is what she's focused on. Until she starts cycling through these men, and what she finds is that they don't have all the 90% that her ex did. She finds out the hard way that men don't actually all have that 90% that her husband had. That's why she didn't appreciate it to begin with, because she thought that every man, or at least many men, had the same qualities as her husband, but you know, the 10% was lacking, and that's what she needed to find. Well, over time, she realizes that she made a mistake, that she should have appreciated that 90%. And as far as the 10% that was lacking, maybe she could have either one, accepted it because she knew that the 90% made up for it, or two, she could have agreed with her husband to work on it. But with that, she needs to be open to taking some accountability for herself and her own actions and potentially looking at changing some things that she does. This is such an important message for women to hear, because you cannot go back on it, because what this man did is that he realized that he was missing out, right? That she may have only had 50% of what he wanted. And then what happened when she released him? He found somebody else. And I bet you anything that that woman, that next woman, appreciates everything about that man. But what really kind of stinks about his new relationship is that you can tell by how this friend is talking that his ex-wife is jealous. She is questioning why he ended up going for a woman that has kids, and he is supporting her, and she is a stay-at-home mom, essentially. Newsflash, you had that and you let it go. But if she doesn't take accountability for that, she doesn't realize that it was her loss, that she made the mistake, that is final, there's no going back. She is probably going to dislike that other woman that's going to be around her children for no reason other than she is getting to reap the benefits of being with that good man. So that is why this is a cautionary tale to all women.
When they talk about their hardest regret, it's never the arrogance, the constant dissatisfaction, or the belief they could always do better. No, it's always framed as, I lost myself, as if the marriage kidnapped them and not the other way around.
I married the nice guy. The guy who made me laugh. I married the guy who was stable, who didn't yell. I married the guy who wasn't afraid to get down on the floor and play with kids. I married the guy who laughed really loudly, who didn't seem to care if anybody was watching. I married the guy who was soft with me.
And she keeps going on and literally describe like the guy that I guess any woman could ask for. The perfect guy. Then goes on to say that they are going through a divorce that she initiated. So you mean to tell me if you are hand delivered the perfect guy, listen, we don't have to, accuse anybody of anything. She literally said it out of her own mouth, so y'all can't go against that. The perfect guy hand delivered to you, and you telling me you just out of nowhere just want to I think I should find something new. I can find something better. If you already have the best, how could you get better? And this is why I say some of y'all deserve misery. That's crazy. That's like somebody saying, listen, I'll take care of all your bills for the rest of your life. All you have to do is not go get a job. And then later on down the line, I just need to get me a job.
They regret leaving a man who was boring, which is code for stable. Turns out excitement doesn't pay bills, protect peace, or show up consistently. Who could have guessed?
Anybody out there who got divorced and regrets it, especially women 35, 40, 45, please tap in and let me know, because at this point I am probably not 99, maybe 89% sure that I'm probably going to be divorced within the next year. So I can't stay with this.
Oh, you think women don't regret it? My dear, you're just not searching. Let me help you out.
And a husband
I miss my family. I miss having a husband. And I miss my husband. I don't want just any husband. I want my husband. Mine. I miss mine. I miss mine. Mine. I don't know why. I'm really stuck. No, you guys are sick of this. You guys are so sick of this. I don't blame you. I don't know how to replace my husband. I don't know how. I'm lonely. I'm sad. I miss my family.
Just fell in the parking lot of Walmart. And I went to grab my phone in that moment that I was hurting. And I wanted to call my husband and cry to him and have him comfort me like y'all was had after 25 years. The first thing I wanted to do was call him. And then I realized that he's not mine to call anymore. And how alone I really am. And it sucks. It really sucks. And I haven't been able to stop crying since. And I'm fine. But it sucks so bad.
So in November, I decided I no longer wanted to be a responsible parent, and I gave up my kids. I was just tired of being responsible and caring for them. I felt like I was too young and I wanted to go out there and experience life, and I started dating someone else, so it just didn't fit with my new lifestyle. And I didn't have anything to worry about because the other parent is a very responsible parent. But now I'm here because now I'm in child support, and to top it off, I'm really pissed off that I took care of them all the way up to November, and I couldn't claim them on my taxes because the other parent had already claimed them.
They say, I didn't feel appreciated, while admitting they stopped appreciating him years earlier. Validation flowed one way, expectations flowed endlessly, and accountability never showed up.
So two times I've stepped out on my 20-year marriage, 2 times, and not big, a kiss here and there. And both times it's caused a separation, because when you live in a situation, and here's the thing, I'm not going to justify cheating. I don't think it's justified, which is why I've chosen to separate after certain things. But at some point, whenever you're with somebody, and after, I'm going to tell you, I was with this person for 20 years, and for 18 of them, he made me beg to be touched. The problem is that we get along really well, friendship-wise, but romantically, it was very, 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 very painful to be unwanted and unloved that way. Friendship-wise, we got along, we were into the same thing, so that helps, but twice I've been approached by blonde-headed coaches. And you'd think that I would pick up on that. It's like, here's your lesson. So I learned my lesson the first time. The second time it smelled a lot like the same. And so it probably was wanting an entourage of women to follow behind them. The first one definitely wanted an entourage, and the second one definitely was a coward. But then watched after, stalking me, and anyway, DMing, pursuing, and you're kind, and they take that as flirtation. But you get so angry in that situation where you're not being loved, where you have to beg for any kind of affection, that you're not thinking straight when it comes to allowing someone else to admire you. And so that's what you do. You let them admire you. Which is what it is. But at this point, I am choosing me over any relationship where I have the slightest temptation that direction. I would rather be alone than have that, because when you're in a relationship with somebody, you should never feel so desperate for attention. You should have somebody on your side. You should have somebody that loves you, that's present for you, that doesn't use that sort of stuff against you. And the people who approach you, that I think a lot of times they see that you're desperate, and it puts you in a really bad situation, and you don't want to be in that situation. And it makes you feel pretty rough about yourself. And so this last one that approached me, regardless of why he did it, it kind of woke me up to the idea that I needed to be alone. I needed to not be married anymore. I needed to, because in my life what I want is that person to be my only person. I don't want to have anyone else, and I don't want to need to have anyone else. I want to be treated respectfully and not disrespectfully. And I want to be appreciated and not tolerated. And so there are pushy people in the world, and I'm going to tell you that both of the people who approached me were pretty pushy. But I chose to allow them to be pushy, and so that's my bad. That was my fault, to allow them to be pushy. But it did wake me up to what I needed to do, and so I did. I'm actively working towards leaving. And divorce is hard, but it is what it is. And I'm working towards a peaceful end to something that was good at times, where I have a beautiful daughter, and where this person I so loved him. And I so thought the world of him, and I still have love for him, but not the same way. And I wanted things to work out, and I didn't want to have to do things like I'm doing, but at some point you have to choose yourself. And to the two who approached me, the two lovely coaches, I hope that your wives understand what you do. Because my husband knew about you. And I apologized for even allowing anyone close. And so here I am, making it on my own after 22 years. And I'm finding freedom in that, and I'm finding healing in that, and peace. And while it's hard because you miss, I told my brother it was surreal. It's surreal. And I'm sure he'd say the same thing, is that it's surreal. But life is life, and life is what it is. And here I am, making it, and never wanting to be in that position again where I'm so desperate. and never wanting to be in a relationship with someone who would make me feel so desperate. And never allowing people to make me feel so desperate for love and for affection and for anything like that. It's a job of working through and learning what you can and can't tolerate. But anyway, you'll be good.
Now the dating market feels harsh, shallow, and emotionally unavailable. Translation: the privileges of being a wife are gone, and strangers aren't offering husband-level effort for coffee dates.
It's Jenna, recently divorced and kind of figuring out this new way of life. I was married for 23 years and with that person for 3 years prior. So for a total of 26 years of my life, I have been out of the game of dating, making friends, going out, and stuff like that as a single woman in her 40s. Yeah, I'm 47. So I've raised children. My children are adult children now. And it's kind of interesting because it's so lonely at this stage in life after divorce, especially with older children, because you make all your friends when they're younger, or at least I did. I met my friends mostly through my kids' activities. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I took them to practices. I went to school, all that stuff. Hey, it's me, Jenna. Recently divorced and trying to survive this year. I'm gonna be honest. The random things that trigger me are the craziest things. I'm sitting in my car, literally sitting in my car, trying to pull myself together because I did what any mom does, and I pulled an emergency drive to my daughter because she needed something, and drove an hour because she's at college to drop something off, and was just so thankful that I could do it for her and fit her in my schedule. And the littlest thing she said just triggered me. And this is the second time in a week that my child has triggered me without even meaning to. So we're getting ready to leave, and she's like, well, I'll be home because I'm going to be at the Clemson Notre Dame game because Dad's going to take us all. You think that's nothing, right? Nothing, right? And she instantly saw a switch in me. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. Because, I don't talk about that stuff. I don't want her to worry. So last week she says, oh, well, Dad said for Christmas we're going to go to Gatlinburg and be there for the holidays and do Dollywood. That man never once ever went to Gatlinburg or Dollywood ever in his entire life before he met me. That was where my family always went. I'm from Tennessee. That's something we always did. It was a bonding thing. And now that's what he's trying to do. It's like he's taken every single tradition I've ever done and now turned it into his. Everything I've ever done. Now I find myself triggered because during the hardest time of my year last year, of me literally trying to stay alive, me dealing with all the craziness of my ex, the lying, the alienation, him calling me a whore, him having my children call me a whore. Why? Not because I did anything bad, because I wore spaghetti straps and all that. And the only way that he could use my children against me was to say I was on social media. I'm a photographer. I make silly TikToks. Honestly, I'll probably progress more with my TikToks because at first they were just pictures. But the more I was stressed, the more I hid in myself, the more I tried to survive, the more I took refuge in TikToks and finding stuff that, resonated with me. And honestly, it's the way I realized what a covert narcissist was, or how bad my abuse was, or mental abuse, or financial abuse, and all that stuff. Literally, TikTok has saved my life in so many ways. Who would think, Mom, we're going to Gatlinburg for Christmas, would trigger me? This man's had at least 3 vacations in the past year to really nice places with my children. At least 3 that I know of, because he has them lie to me. He has them outright lie to me about so much stuff. So who knows? God knows what they've done. And then the holidays and all that. Now my triggers are, oh, he gets to just go and take my kids to the Notre Dame and Clemson game. I wish I could do that. I can't afford to do that. Why? Because he screwed me. He lied about owning a company. And there's ways to prove it. I'm trying to be happy and show my kids that life can move on, but
The triggers, the random fucking triggers that had me sitting in a Quick Trip parking lot trying not to cry. Why? Because my ex has so much money. He makes more than $18,000 a month easily, or at least he did. He made almost $1 million the year before we divorced and then lied about it. He has all the money at his fingertips to do whatever he wants, to buy my children, take them on trips, take them on vacations. Why I literally had the bare minimum to pay my bills on top of trying to restart a career because it was a hobby, because I was a stay-at-home mom. And now I sit here with the triggers. A fucking trigger because he's going to the Clemson Notre Dame game with my kids. I can't just randomly afford that. Hell, I can't even get them all in the same room at the same time. So I sit here and I'm gonna get through this trigger. I'm gonna suck it up, buttercup.
So let's just be real
and
here.
I'm move on. But it's not fair.
The real regret isn't divorce. It's realizing the grass wasn't greener, just louder. More attention, less commitment. More options, zero intention.
I am currently divorcing my husband of 8 years. I have learned to never see someone as their potential or what they say they will do. Only see them as who they are now and what they do now. For the entirety of our marriage, I have paid for his lifestyle and paid almost all of the bills while he started a small business as a photographer. I started a Roth IRA for him and invested in it, thinking it would help us retire together. I worked 60-hour weeks, either from working full-time while in grad school or working a job so intense that the stress made my hair fall out and I stopped getting periods for a while. Meanwhile, he worked about 1 job a month, sometimes 2, while somehow staying busy around 10 hours a week doing other work for his business. He didn't have a marketing plan or much of a social media presence, so I'm not sure what he was doing. When my body started to shut down from stress, his solution was for me to quit my job and to live off my savings while I looked for another job, which he did not contribute to. I didn't feel comfortable with that. In retrospect, he was working so little that he should have taken on a part-time job to support us, but he said that would hurt his career as a photographer. I'm not sure how that is true, given that he worked so few hours each week. When I tried to get him to meet with me monthly to discuss budgeting and finances, he refused for years. He said we made too much money for us to need a budget. I made $70,000, and I don't know how much he made at that time, probably around $20,000 before expenses. He said it would be difficult for him to bring up all of his financial details and would take him hours, and why couldn't I just trust him? So we never had honest financial discussions. When I asked for a divorce, it came out that he had $28,000 in business expenses he hid from me. I have no idea what he could have spent that much money on. He also had $11,000 in credit card debt, which he said was my fault because he bought me Christmas presents and because he bought some of the groceries, which were expensive because I prefer oat milk, he said. He went to Europe for fun without me 3 times that year, but never considered that as financially irresponsible or a contributor to his debt. In addition, he would physically hurt me during sex. He was too large, but changing how he had sex so as not to hurt me was inconvenient for him. So he carried on. When I matured enough to tell him it hurt, he blamed me, said it was my fault, and that I should see a doctor because no other woman said it hurt. I would grimace and push back from the pain to try to keep him from going in all the way. Instead of being grateful that I would have sex with him, he once said in anger, "Why would I ever enjoy having sex with you? All you do is lay there." He kept trying to pressure me into having group sex, even though he knew I didn't want to. Whenever I tried to tell him something he did hurt my feelings, he'd either deny that it ever happened or said I was overreacting and it wasn't that bad. Or if it was that bad, like the time he got inches from my face to yell at me, it was my fault that he did it because I made him angry. If he was upset from an argument and therefore didn't work for weeks afterwards or performed poorly at work, then that was my fault too. He'd get so angry he'd go and stay at a hotel several days a month to get away from me, when I begged him not to because we couldn't afford it. He was diagnosed decades ago with bipolar, but refuses to take medicine or treatment. When I asked for a divorce, he first said I was too mentally unwell to make major life decisions. Then he said I'm perfect for him. Then he said it was a financially inconvenient time for a divorce, and why couldn't I have asked for it in August instead? I have had little contact with him, have been kind, and have begrudgingly given him everything he wants. The retirement account I made for him and a car I paid $18,000 on. He says he could be homeless without these. I just want the divorce to be clean, fast, and over. Never again will I be generous with a man. I'll never expect anything better than what they show me in the present. He promised his business would be successful, but never put enough work into it, and always had an excuse or would blame it on someone else. And I'll keep in mind that just because someone loves me and isn't trying to hurt me, doesn't mean they aren't hurting or exploiting me. Me wanting to leave is a good enough reason to leave. I am already so much happier now that he's gone.
They say their biggest regret was settling too young. What they really mean is they confused stability with boredom and mistook chaos for passion. Turns out peace doesn't trend well on social media, but it ages beautifully.
I have a lot of regrets, and I have a lot of regrets it's about my divorce. And one of them is that I picked the worst divorce lawyer. Probably not the worst ever, but one of the things that I asked from her was to put a stipulation in my divorce paperwork saying that I requested that all explicit content be destroyed because I had taken photos and videos, explicit ones, for my ex-husband while we were still married. And then once we were divorced, weird, I didn't want him to have access to that anymore. And I shared that with my lawyer, and she told me that we shouldn't put that language in the paperwork because then people might think poorly of me. So she was more concerned about what someone might look up and find in my paperwork about me wanting autonomy and rights over my body. It's more important for people to not find that out versus to ensure that that content is destroyed and that my ex-husband doesn't still have it and look at it. I mean, in all honesty, I don't think he does, or I don't know. I'm not gonna speak for him. I don't know. All I know is that I did reach out to him during the divorce process 2 years ago and said, can you please make sure that all of that is deleted? And he said, yes, like it's all gone. And I said, well, what about, in this location? And he said, oh, I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to. Like, when? This is my body. And the point is, I'll never know if he deleted it. The point is, my lawyer should have gave, like an ounce of a shit about how this made me feel. To know that someone had this access to my body without my permission. And she had the power to protect that, but instead she made me feel shameful. And I think that's usually what happens to us, is we feel ashamed. So, I don't know. I hope me talking about it makes you feel a little less alone. I hope.
And the punchline? The man she left rebuilt quietly. She got lessons, podcasts, and a therapist explaining why it still hurts. Divorce didn't make her free. It taught her the value of what she walked away from a little too late.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.